Hello everyone, thank you for joining in today's presentation about climate adaptation and collaboration in the Europapark district. My name is Gabriëlle, I'm 23 years old and I'm in my final year of International Facility Management study at Hansa University of Applied Sciences. My interests revolve around architecture, sustainability, climate adaptation, built environment and everything related. I think we are now all aware about climate change being one of the biggest problems that our society is currently facing. If this trend continues, it will have a negative impact on the urban economy and ecology. Today I'm going to share you my research on how to reduce or even prevent the society from negative climate change consequences by active citizen participation through collaboration. I found out that this requires special attention to spatial adaptation in private areas, since 70% of our urban environment is private land and cannot be modified without the consent of the owners. We know that climate change poses a risk to livability. For example, heat affects health and associated risk of premature death amongst susceptible groups. That is why it is essential to be able to adapt more quickly to a changing climate and to adopt new approaches that help supporting citizens into climate adaptive measures. We can only do this if we understand each other. Therefore, this can only be achieved if the right stakeholders are working together. This had led me to my research question. How can a cooperative relationship be established between the resident group and the residents of the Lini in the field of participation with regard to climate adaptation to minimize the heat stress? I had two main goals for this research. One was more specific, where I want to find a way to establish a collaborative relationship between the important stakeholders and the residents in the district of Europapark. And others were more general, where I want to gather data on climate adaptive behavior and also communication and engagement strategies. So what did I do? I started doing desk research and literature review to find out what was already known about climate adaptation and communication strategies. I also wanted to find out about the current situation. To what extent did the residents already take climate adaptive measures in the private area with a survey? I also did an interview with the representative of the resident group to find out where the group is standing in the context of climate adaptation. Besides that, I also participated into taking heat stress measures in the district of Europapark. What I found out is that there is not so much research done in motivational factors and the influence of psychological experience of citizens in climate change, which is required to understand each other. What I also found out is that climate adaptation is a fairly new concept for many stakeholders. It could mean that some of the stakeholders experience a high need for climate adaptive behaviors while others do not. That is why communication is a core strategy that mostly has been used to make the objective from each stakeholder visible in order to collaborate. This is how I came to the final advice. First recommendation is to raise awareness on the positive impact of taking climate adaptive measures. There are ways to spread information, starting with trying to organize pilots in the local community. Secondly is to have a local awareness campaign organized by the residents group. The campaign would benefit from inspiration, ideas and suggestions. Lastly is to include residents into policy making, decision making and projects about climate adaptation. It is recommended that the government and municipality should let residents actively engage, making them the key to implementing their own policy rules and making them more effective. Thank you for listening, and if you are interested in the project, please contact me.